So another year of gaming has come and gone, and been summed up at the annual Game Awards hosted by Jeff Keighley and a random Muppet. And this year, just like the many before it, came with plenty of controversy, as it always does. And I'm not here to defend the Game Awards show. It's always a little cringy and a little disappointing to some fan bases, but overall, this year at least, I thought it was alright. There were quite a few actually cool game reveals, and I thought most of the awards were well deserved. Oh my god, was I wrong, apparently. I really should have expected it at this point. But the next day online discussions were wild, and a game I thought was generally loved by gamers was suddenly hated. And this reaction got me thinking, why does this seem to happen every year? Why does an event that's meant to be a year-end celebration of a hobby that we all love turn into one of the most negative nights in gaming discourse? Well, there's definitely a lot of reasons for this, and today I want to discuss them, because I feel like I have a lot to say about this topic. This is going to be a slightly less structured, edited, and just more ranty video than most of mine. Let's start with recapping this year's show, or the important parts of it at least. By far the biggest controversy in this show was Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and the numerous awards it won. It won Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Best Performance, Best Independent Game, Best Debut Indie Game, and Best RPG. It's a lot, I won't lie, but in my opinion, a lot of them were pretty well deserved. I think the most controversial ones were Best Art Direction and Best Independent Games. Now, with award shows like this, the number of awards a certain game or movie or whatever we're talking about receives really shouldn't be part of the consideration of what awards it wins. Every award should be independent of each other, and the best game in each category should win that award no matter what else it has or hasn't won. Despite this, I can see some arguments against Best Independent Game. By definition, Sandfall Interactive, the developers of Expedition 33, are an indie studio, and a game like Expedition 33 is a huge accomplishment for any studio's first game. However, yes, they were funded by external sources, and probably a very large amount of money, and their team was probably a lot larger than a lot of these other indie games. So, by definition, Expedition 33 is an indie game. But of all the awards it won, I do think this one could easily have been given to a different game, because Expedition 33 does have a great story behind it, but I'm not sure it really represents what people think of when they hear about indie games. And if you take all the other awards it got into account, it definitely could have gone to someone else, if you want to think of it like that. I think 2025 was a great year in gaming, so Expedition 33 winning tons of awards doesn't necessarily sum up the entire year in the best way. Best Art Direction, I'm on the other side of though. If you think Expedition 33 is just Unreal Engine slop, or a mobile game, or just realism equals good, you definitely have not played the game, or seen enough gameplay to have actually formed an opinion on this. This game has some great art direction. Yes, the realism is a large part of this, but there were clearly some really great artistic people working on this game. Of course, all the other games in this category have great art styles. And honestly, I probably do like the way Hades 2 looks more than Expedition 33. But I don't think in any world this game doesn't deserve this award. It's really just a matter of opinion. And maybe they made the wrong choice. But I'm not upset about it. Apart from these two, I really don't have much to say. Dispatch could have won in Best Debut Indie Game, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in Best RPG. But I wasn't really mad about either of these. And I really didn't think anyone online was going to be either, because up until the Game Awards, all I heard about Expedition 33 was great praise. And then it won all these awards, and all of a sudden, everyone switched up on it. It went from a very well-received RPG to suddenly a hated game that won so much at the Game Awards for being another boring turn-based RPG. So why did this happen? And why did this also happen with Astrobot and Baldur's Gate 3? I really feel like we haven't had a generally agreed upon good game of the year since Elden Ring in 2022. So instead of just arguing against Expedition 33 winning, I think it's more interesting to talk about why so many Game Award winners end up becoming controversial afterwards, when they were so liked just a week before. Well, there's a lot of reasons why I think this happens, and why the Game Awards as a whole always have such a negative reception. First of all, everyone watches for a different reason, unlike other award shows, and no one can agree on what the Game Awards are supposed to be. Some people watch just for the game reveals. Some people watch because they genuinely care about the games and the awards. Some people watch just to make fun of the cringy jokes. And the Game Awards kind of let this happen. It does try to be everything at once. It has the interesting awards, but then also has ads and trailers for new games, and also has these comedy sketches like other big award shows. And through all of these, it attracts such a wide audience, and a lot of these people don't actually resonate with the actual awards. Like, I've seen so many people saying that they heard absolutely nothing about Expedition 33 before the Game Awards, and I'm like, what? I heard about this game right from when it came out. It had tons of hype and great reviews. I started playing it before the awards. Like, if you hadn't heard anything about this game, then clearly you're just not informed on the current gaming news. And this isn't really anyone's fault if this is the case, but I think it's just the nature of so many different people watching this show. A lot of them being the people that only play big online multiplayer games, and might not recognize a lot of the games getting nominated. Where something like the Oscars has, to me, always seemed like something just meant for extreme movie fans. Like, if you just watch the big blockbusters, you probably won't know half of the movies winning awards there. And that cuts down the audience a lot, but it does mean a lot less people are getting mad. But I don't think this is gonna change. The huge view count of the Game Awards is what they need to keep going. So I'm sure they are going to continue as they are. Second of all, gaming is simply a very loud online community. I mean, the games are all online. Lots of the discourse is online. Gamers don't lose quietly. Expedition 33 wins Game of the Year. Twitter declares it mid, and all of a sudden there's a huge online battle about it. And it becomes really personal online. If my favorite game didn't win, then the awards are rigged. But I really think it comes to a point where it doesn't matter what game wins. If Silksong won Game of the Year, people would complain about the difficulty that turns so many people away from the game. If Donkey Kong won, people would be mad at Nintendo winning something, despite their greed. I think it's really just an impossible battle to win, because someone is always going to be disappointed, and that really is just the nature of award shows. And gaming itself always has so much controversy. As I said, the online gaming community is always very vocal, so anything that happens that might be controversial always becomes a huge story, and this is exactly the same with the Game Awards. Negativity and controversy sells. It keeps people interested. Creating huge debates between people who liked the Game of the Year and people who didn't is just good engagement, and sometimes that's all people care about. The loudest voices are always the most extreme ones. But maybe it's really not hate for Expedition 33, but more what it represents after it wins, and the actual game is just a victim of this. Before the awards, Expedition 33 was really just a well-praised RPG that people discovered on their own. But after, it suddenly becomes the game that critics won't shut up about. And once it becomes this, people just look at the game trying to point out the flaws, or create new flaws just to prove the industry wrong. It should just be oh, even if I personally didn't play or didn't like this game, I can see that lots of people did, so I'm sure it deserved it. But instead, it becomes a challenge of people trying to prove that this game didn't deserve it. Like, I've seen wild posts and accusations about Expedition 33, like people saying it's not inclusive or racist. What? Your main party for a significant chunk of this game is 3 women and 1 man. One of these women is Asian and another is Indian, Southern European, or mixed descent, people speculate online, because technically they never discuss race in the game, but not white. I really don't know what more people could want. However, I do understand that a lot of people argue that they have the right to be frustrated. After all, the awards are decided by critics, not us gamers who watch the award show. And many will argue that game critics don't play games the same way we do, because there is a lot of evidence that shows that. They probably play dozens of games a year, often under deadlines, looking for themes and structures or things like that, which naturally makes it feel like a single-player story RPG is definitely favored. And I can understand this. Whether it's true or not is debatable, but it's definitely a point to consider. However, when a story turn-based RPG is also loved by fans, like Baldur's Gate or Expedition 33, clearly it's not just made to win awards, it's also made to win over people. And just because you might not like it, that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve the award. Obviously, I really liked Expedition 33, but I never finished Baldur's Gate 3. It just wasn't for me. But I still wholeheartedly believe it deserved that Game of the Year more than anyone else. I actually did a whole video on this, if anyone's interested, all about games that you really want to like, but you just don't, and how you can still recognize it's a great game even if it's not for you. So in the end, as I said, I'm not trying to defend the Game Awards. It's a pretty silly show. It's flawed and awkward and corporate, and they rush through the important things and linger too long on the ads. But it is also one of the only nights of the year where the entire industry gathers and really tries to show the importance of games. Indie developers get global spotlights. It's just a great reminder that with the amount of people watching, games do matter culturally, even if they mean really different things to everyone. Also, the Game Awards just isn't really that serious. You should play what you want and enjoy what you want. Just because some big event says it's not the best, doesn't mean it can't be your favorite. So next year, this is probably gonna happen again. Unless there's a universally loved game that everyone can get behind, lots of people are going to be mad. And I think that's kind of just the nature of the Game Awards and gaming as a whole. I really don't think there's anything that can be done about it, but I just want to try and explain why it happens, or at least why I think it happens, and just get some of the Expedition 33 haters out of here. Because I do agree that it probably shouldn't have won as much as it did, but I do also think it deserves most of the awards it won. So thanks for listening to my little rant about the Game Awards. I have wanted to talk about this for a very long time, and I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Bye.